Ever since I started doing YouTube reviews, I've found that every time I try and review a movie, I am way too late to the party. But I made an exception. I have seen a movie that doesn't come out in US cinemas until mid-April. Miles Ahead. So Miles Ahead stars Don Cheadle as Miles Davis. Don Cheadle also co-wrote and directed this movie. That's interesting. That's different. You don't really see a lot of biopics which are, starring, producing, co-written and directed by this one person. That's some kind of like Citizen Kane stuff right there. But that's what happened. Miles Davis' estate came to Don Cheadle because Don Cheadle had grown up with his music, was a big, huge fan of Miles Davis, and the estate came to him saying, "Hey, we want you to make a movie of Miles Davis." This was, shortly after he died, and Don Cheadle thought, this is not what you should be doing. This is not the thing you should be doing. So he came up with this plan to not make the cliche, usual A to Z biopic. Instead, he decided to go in some really different sort of way and tell a story about Miles Davis in one particular event in his life. And he's been working at it for the past 5-10 years as a sort of passion project. And that's exactly what Miles Ahead really feels like. It feels like this big, ambitious passion project which has Don Cheadle poured a lot of time, a lot of effort, probably a lot of money, his own personal funds into this movie to try and get it making work, trying to tell that story that he wants to tell. And I respect that sort of initiative, but I don't think it entirely translates to an enjoyable experience. Very interesting that they went for the Steve Jobs approach, which is take a big famous sort of character, not tell the traditional sort of biopic stance, and instead go into one particular event or a series of events that are all interlaced with each other thematically. It works really, really well for Steve Jobs. However, it works for Steve Jobs because he's a very famous sort of figure. Miles Davis is a jazz musician. Maybe his fans might know his story, but general audiences are going to go, why aren't they showing this? Why aren't they showing him recording his most famous albums, as well as telling the story of Miles Davis, the narcissistic, alcoholic, cocaine-fueled degenerate who couldn't even play trumpet anymore, couldn't even make music, and just wanted to sit in his home and be a hermit, essentially, and wants to punch interviewers who just want to take one little interview, which is Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor actually really surprised me. I didn't know he was in this movie, and he just rocked up. Hey, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, yay! That's awesome! Cool, what are you doing in this movie? But, okay, fine. It was very interesting. And Don Cheadle, he delivers a great performance. I sat there thinking, that is just... That is interesting. That's some interesting stuff that he's trying to pull off. And for the performance side of it, it really works. It's a really great showcase of how Don Cheadle really is a great actor. He continues to surprise me. He continues to surprise audiences. He might not be nominated as much as a lot of great actors out there, but he really deserves it when he does get nominated. The creation of the movie, again, is just not as fluent. It doesn't flow as well. There's so many different jump cuts. Someone falls on the floor and then it jump cuts to the past where Miles Davis was in his prime, which is something I'd actually like to see because I don't know that story. I wanted to see that, but the movie that we got is just the movie that we got. And it keeps doing that, all these random jump cuts, which looks really cool. This is some really interesting editing choices, and I respect that. But does it work thematically? No. Does it make the story flow? Hell no. It grinds it to a halt. Don Cheadle tried to make the past kind of intermingle with the present. And these scenes where he's going through doing something, but then he starts to hear something that he remembers, or he starts to see himself as a young man. It didn't move the story along. It just kind of just was there, and nothing really happened. Now that's really all the cons. The pros of this movie, like I said, is Don Cheadle as Miles Davis. He totally invests himself into the role. Ewan McGregor is really funny. There's a lot of really cool, genuine humor that is just really unexpected and just comes at you. And it really does show that Don Cheadle loves Miles Davis. He shows that immense knowledge about Miles Davis's life, about his music, about how he felt about certain albums, about his relationships, and you really see that knowledge and that passion. And the end is not a traditional climax of, Miles Davis went on to do this and he had a reunion tour. Instead, Don Cheadle actually learned to play trumpet. So the end of this movie is actually a concert, which I didn't even know that they did. And I was really confused at first. I was thinking, wait, did Miles Davis actually do this? No, okay, that's Don Cheadle just playing Miles Davis, okay? And he comes out on stage in front of all these people in this theater, and then I started to see some of the people that he was playing with. I was like, wait a minute, that's Gary Clark Jr. and that's Antonio Sanchez. They're from now. What's going on? And it's actually just a concert that I looked up and Don Cheadle actually did just for it to be the end of the movie. And he also played with, Herbie Hancock as well, which was listed in the credits. I didn't know who he was, so I had to look in the credits, go, oh, okay, that's Herbie Hancock. I've heard of him somewhere. And he had this awesome concert, and you really see how great Don Cheadle can play the trumpet, and I was really surprised, and I was so delighted. In the end, Miles Ahead is a very interesting, very ambitious movie. Just so many things that work and so many things that don't, and I have to say that Miles Ahead
is worth the ticket, but you should probably wait a little while to see it.
So Miles Ahead, if you are going to see it, tell me what is your favorite biopic of all time. Remember, push that little red button. Thanks for watching.